Okay. Well, earlier in this month, we took our annual vacation to the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. And it's something I cherish very much because our grandson and I really have some bonding time together, and I'm a little concerned, I hope it's not the last one because now he's gone off to college and who knows. But this is a guy who lives in his phone and his computer. I mean, he's like attached to it. You know what I mean. Always looking at it, always, even when you're having a discussion, when you're at meals, like, put that thing down and talk to me, And he's aware of it. He knows it irritates the heck out of me. But it seems to be, something that is very common now among many folks, especially younger people. But while we're up there on vacation, one afternoon we decided to go down to the marina. They have a coffee shop down there he loves, and we decided, let's go fishing off the dock. Maybe we'll have better luck. And as we were fishing off the marina, which is about a 10-foot drop to the water, another 20 feet down into the water, he drops his phone. Down it goes, down, 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 and he's panicking, and it took us a couple hours to finally get someone to help us to get it. And it was, by the time he got it back, that phone was toast. And he was like a mess. I mean, he was like, I don't know what I'm going to do without my phone. And he was lamenting, and he was just like, we have to go home. I said, what do you mean we're going home? It's only Thursday. We still got 3 more days. We're not going home. But I got to tell you what happened. This, I think, is just so wonderful. And this has to do with taking a back seat and watching his delight in the moment. Because that evening, I said, you know what, buddy? I said, let's just do what we always do every evening. Let's go out on the lake. We'll go out at sunset. We'll take the boat, and we'll go fishing in our favorite spot. And he always sits up front. And all of a sudden, as we're about halfway on the lake, and it's this beautiful sunset, and he doesn't have his phone to look at because he even does it out there, he kind of like stands up in front of the boat. He's 6'5", and he sticks his arms out, and he goes, yeah! And I got to tell you, in that moment, it was like all his inhibitions and the sense of freedom. It's kind of like that scene in the Titanic. You remember when that guy was out on the bow of the boat? I'm the king of the world. And I thought, wow, I mean, it truly brought me to tears because it was like he got it, or it was a moment. I don't know what you call that. Maybe it's a moment of grace where he just realized, oh my gosh, there's something else in this world, right? The beauty. And I was in that back seat. So what is it about a back seat? That's what I want to preach about today. Taking a back seat, because I think that's what our gospel is about, a lot of things. But I want to talk about that. What does it mean to take a back seat? All my life growing up in school, I sat in the first seat, the first row, because my last name starts with an A, and I got to tell you, back in those days, I always got called on first. And it was nerve-wracking because, there's a sense of embarrassment. You don't know the answer. You're first. Oh, my gosh. What a wonderful surprise and joy it was when I finally went to college. Guess where I sat? In the back where I could watch everything and I could put my hand up when I knew the answer and I wasn't fearful of being called on first. So all you guys in the back pew, I get it. I get it. No judging, just take a back seat and enjoy. Enjoy from the rear. Now Father Norm's probably saying, no, we don't say that. We want him to sit up front. There are times when sitting in the back or taking a back seat, as the expression goes, is preferred and it's appropriate. And doesn't mean that you aren't engaged. I mean, look at our choir. They're in the back, right? But yet they lead us in song and in worship. Let me give you some other examples in my life. going back about having a back seat, going back to that fishing vacation earlier in the month. When we go out to fish at night, my grandson, who's 6'5", he takes the bow of the boat. He's always in the front. And why is he in the front? Because he looks for rocks, he looks for boulders. He's kind of like the pilot, right? He's our guide, our navigator. And I just let him do that. I mean, it's not like I'm not doing anything. I am driving the boat. But he tells me where to go. And in that sense, you know, it's kind of having that back seat and letting him in charge, to me, is just an example of empowering people with responsibility and trust, right? I trust he's not going to take us into a big rock and destroy our propeller. Another example, maybe some of you heard, 2 Saturdays ago, I was out in the back of our house mowing and using the weed eater near a wood pile, and before I knew it, my bare legs were covered in yellow jackets. And I ran into the house. My legs were in incredible pain, maybe, I don't know, 2-3 dozen stings, and I was determined to get back out there and show those bees who's boss. So I popped the Benadryl, I put on my blue jeans, and I went back out, and as soon as I hit the yard, my body seized. And I was in that, what they call anaphylactic shock. I practically crawled back into the house. I collapsed on the couch, and my good wife Paula says, "What is wrong with you?" I said, "I just been stung by a bunch of bees." And she pulled my pants off, and she's like, "Oh my gosh." And she calls 911, and then she says, "Our daughter left an EpiPen here," because my daughter's always leaving all her stuff at our house, right? And she's allergic. So she runs into the other room, grabs the EpiPen, and my wife stabbed me. She stuck me with the pen. Talk about taking a back seat. I couldn't get out of my seat. And I was going down fast, and the EMS guys came, and of course they whisked me off. My blood pressure was down 60 over 30, and all I wanted to do was just sleep. And I remember saying to those guys, "You don't need to take me to the hospital. I'm going to be okay. I don't need to stay here overnight," because they put me in ICU for the night. "I'm okay. I want to be in charge of this." That's not taking a back seat. You got to let people in times of emergencies take over, and that was a good lesson for me. The first responders. Is that an act of humility? Maybe, maybe not. Is that the kind of humility Jesus is talking about in the gospel today? About taking a back seat at the banquet? Maybe, you know. Letting my grandson guide the boat? You know, yeah. Being forced into humility by wasp venom? And a level-headed, save-my-life wife? Yeah. And my third example is here in the parish. I've been here 13 months now. And one of the things that I find very wonderful and empowering as far as taking a back seat is I go to the parish council meetings, and I really don't do anything. I just kind of sit in the back or off to the side and I observe. And I have to tell you, the service to this parish by these folks at these meetings, listening to them, their talent, their dedication, placing the parishioners ahead of their needs is very humbling, very empowering, and very redeeming. My point in all these examples is this: to be truly first in the kingdom of heaven is all about service and putting others in the front seats, taking care of business, right, Pastor? But doing what needs to be done in the moment, and certainly preferential treatment to those far less fortunate than you or I. And I want to close with this. As a deacon is an ordained ministry of service. It comes from the Greek word to serve. It's not so much about taking a back seat, but the idea of being a servant leader, key word is servant there. So there implies a little bit that, yeah, I might be up front here from week to week, but it's important to place others in front of us. We're all called to do that, not just deacons. And I'll never forget, maybe I said this before, the words of Bishop Pilla about 2 days before my ordination in 1994. He met with us, 6 of us guys, to be ordained. And if you knew Bishop Pilla at all, you know he was a man of very few words, but when he talked, they were always very powerful. And he liked to point his finger. When he pointed his finger, you knew you better listen. And he said, you know, you guys, I have 3 rules for ministry. 3 rules. Here they are. You're not God. This isn't heaven. And don't be a jerk. That's great advice for all of us, right? Not just deacons. And what does it mean? In other words, God is God, and I am not. So just you think you're, ordained or whatever, you're not. So what? You're not the big shot. God is God, I'm not. And no, this isn't heaven. We got to get to work. We are missionary disciples of Christ. There's work to be done. And don't be a jerk. Well, you know what that means, right? It means invite the poor, invite the lame, invite the blind, invite anybody who's marginalized to the meal. The meal. And take the last seat at the banquet.